What's up, world? This is America. My name is Hobson McCain.
My name is Mark Ray Redman.
And we are going to discuss our social segment this week. Like many of our social segments, this one is a little bit weighted. There's a lot of crazy things going on in our country right now. And unfortunately, it seems to be a little bit of a cycle. We've talked about police brutality on here. We've talked about the dehumanization of black people in general. But today we're going to be talking a little bit about two specific scenarios that happened in the past week. One involving the Stand Your Ground law. I'm sure you guys are familiar with that. That's how George Zimmerman got away with murdering Trayvon Martin. And it wasn't murder. It was not a self-defense. It was a murder. And then we're going to be talking about the Nia Wilson situation and the coward, John Lee Cowell, and his apprehension. So we're going to start off with the Stand Your Ground case. So basically, we're going to link the video to everything that we talk about below and on our YouTube channel. So if you want to see the video and the link to the video, go to our YouTube channel and check it out. But basically, a man by the name of Marques McLaughlin, he went to a gas station, went inside. I don't know what he was getting, doesn't really matter. Left his wife and 3 kids in the car. One of them was like 4 months old, one of them was 3, and one of them was 5. While he was inside, a man approaches them. They had parked in a handicap spot.
Illegally.
Yeah. So it is.
I don't think that they had a handicap sticker.
Yeah. So they had parked in a handicap spot illegally.
Left the car running.
Running, and a Caucasian gentleman walked up and started verbally assaulting them. Basically, he was cursing at them, yelling at them. I can't quote anything, obviously, because there was a lot of vulgarity.
Surveillance camera. Surveillance cameras don't have audio.
Yeah, so, but according to the woman inside the car, he was verbally attacking her and her children. Now, as a man, a defender of your household, somebody who is there to protect your wife, girlfriend, and children, he comes out of the gas station, sees this man verbally attacking his family, verbally assaulting his family. He walks up, he pushes the man. The man falls, and as soon as the man falls, Marques McLaughlin turns away. You'll see in the video, if you go to our YouTube channel, click it. He starts to turn away, and he's looking back at him talking, but he's no longer facing this individual directly. The man then pulls out a gun, and
from his knees. He never gets up off his knees.
He's sitting on the ground. He's sitting on the ground, at least 5 feet of distance between them, and Marques McLaughlin is not making any move towards him. Pulls out a gun, in which case Marques McLaughlin squares up with him. Not squares up as in about to fight, but he looks at him straight on, gets shot in the chest, goes back inside, and dies in front of his wife and their 5-year-old son. He bleeds out. Now, the police station said, the police station said that they were not going to charge the man who shot Marques because of the Stand Your Ground law, which is a law that says if you're defending yourself or your family or your property, then you have the right to use lethal force.
I researched this too. Did you say that they already decided that he's not getting charged? that what you said?
That's what the police station said. They are not charging him.
So there's no criminal charges coming from this because of the stand your ground law.
Yes.
He just shot a man in front of his 3 kids and his wife because he got pushed down in an altercation that he started.
Yeah,
he's going to get away.
He initiated the conflict.
The stand your ground law to me is probably like, I'm not going to say it's the worst law in the country because I'm sure that it is preferential. You know, like certain people might think that immigration laws are the worst laws that we have in the country, or you know, the wall, or you know, whatever else is going on. But me personally, the stand your ground law has been something that has bothered me since 2012, since I was 16 years old. I'm 22 now. Since I was 16 years old, that law has troubled me. Like, because I don't quite understand the logic of it. The stand your ground law.
Yeah, well, I understand the logic of it, but I don't understand how it's not applied to all situations. Right?
I understand the logic. Stand your ground. If someone's trying to assault you, you know, if anything's about to happen to you, you have the right to defend yourself. The crazy thing to me is we already have that. It's called self-defense.
Yeah.
Self-defense clause in any kind of law. Like if somebody approaches you, you can just plead self-defense and you'll get off if it's self-defense. The stand your ground law, to me, is an excuse for people to get into altercations, and then if it escalates too much, it's an excuse for them to shoot somebody or do something that ended, and then say, oh, I'm the victim, and I was scared for my life. But you could have just walked away. You could have just decided to not start the altercation.
Your business.
There's a lot of ways for you, the victim, to not have been a part of the situation to begin with. And now somebody's dead, and you're going to paint them as the villain. That's me sick.
Yeah,
and that's just my take on it.
And my issue with it is that it's not applied in all cases, right? So we can go back to the Trayvon Martin case. A man is following you in the dark for an extended period of time.
A stranger
that you've never seen before. Then he confronts you.
You a young black kid, an older white man is following you, a grown white man following you, and you are 16.
To me, I could see why Trayvon Martin wanted to defend himself. Right, I've always said I have no doubt that Trayvon Martin was handing George Zimmerman a whooping. I 100% believe, but I think he was justified in doing so. There's no reason that a fully grown white man should be following a black kid through a neighborhood and then confronting him when the police just told him not to confront this man.
To me, if you start an altercation and then you get whooped, that should be the end of it. You shouldn't be able to escalate it and shoot somebody in an altercation that you started because you're sad that you took an L. You shouldn't have went and took that L. You should have been a man about it and went home.
When the person that you're following and harassing is unarmed and is not doing anything wrong. Now in the Marques McLaughlin case, we could talk about that now. This man wasn't involved in the situation initially because he was inside the gas station, right? He comes out and sees somebody yelling at his wife and children. Now, for all the men out there who have families, I don't have a family of my own, but I have a little brother and sister. And I know if I had ever went inside a gas station, came outside and seen somebody yelling through my car window at my little brother and sister, at the very least, I'm going to go up and I'm going to put my hands on him and move him away. Get him away from the situation because I don't want it to escalate with them.
I have the right to stand my ground.
That's my issue is do black people not have the right to stand their ground? Because
like, what was he supposed to do? Was he supposed to stand outside like, excuse me, sir, can you please stop disrespecting my family? Just so he can get disrespected too? Obviously, the man wasn't respectful when he was talking to his wife, or Mr. McLaughlin wouldn't have came outside and obviously been as agitated as he was. People aren't agitated for no reason. And again, he has been saying some outlandish things that I'm sure he will not own up to. Because, if he owned up to them, then that kind of puts him in a different situation. Now he can't say he's the victim. And because of this stupid stand your ground law, he didn't even get arrested. The man's sitting at home right now. And he thinks he's going to get off scot-free.
Yeah, he put a note on his door that said, no comment. So now he just can't. Yeah, he doesn't have to talk about it.
You don't get that right
And like I said before, if you watch the video, as soon as the shooter falls to the ground, Marques McLaughlin literally turns away from him, turns his body away. He's looking back at him, but he turns his body away, showing he's visibly no longer like the guy was on the ground. It wasn't about to be a competitive. If they got into a fist fight, it wouldn't have been a competitive fist fight. The guy was on the ground, sitting on his butt when he pulled out his gun and shot Mr. McLaughlin from at least 5 feet away, at least a yard or two away.
Now that in itself should remove the entire argument of self-defense. So that to me explains why he didn't get arrested. He didn't get arrested. He didn't get tried. He didn't have to convince a court that it was self-defense because of the stand your ground law that prevents you from even getting arrested, even getting a fair trial. The fact that George Zimmerman went as far as he did and still had to cite the stand your ground law was kind of, that was progress, I guess, looking at this one. Like, at least, no. I'm not saying that it was a good thing that happened because George Zimmerman still getting to go to jail. But at least he went through a political process. At least he sat in the courtroom. He shot McLaughlin on camera in front of his wife and children. The entire altercation is on tape. And this man is sitting at his house with a note on his door saying no comment. George Zimmerman didn't get to do that. It seems to me that we've regressed in these 6 years. Like, it seems like it's almost more normal now than it was in 2012. When it happened in 2012, it was a big deal. Now it's a big deal, but the precedent has already been set. The stand your ground law, everybody already has an idea of how it's supposed to operate. And this situation, because of the precedent set by George Zimmerman in the same state with the same law, kind of applies to him here. And now they're just trying to nullify the entire process and not even ask any questions about it. And that's what bothers me. There's nobody even questioning it. And now the best thing that we can do, if he doesn't get arrested, is to take him to civil court and try to get some money from him.
Yeah, and
that is not good enough.
Yeah, money isn't going to help the McLaughlin family get their father back, their husband back. A 5-year-old kid just witnessed his father bleed out on the floor in front of him for defending him.
Yeah, that's what he gets for standing up for you.
Yeah.
And the country said it's okay because your dad was in the wrong for standing up for you. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, because he parked in a handicap spot. Like, it was that deep to this gentleman that he had to get out of his car, start cursing at a woman and her kids. The oldest was 5. The oldest was 5, and he's cursing, acting a fool towards them. And
what is this? What was that man's job description, bro?
He didn't work there. He didn't work there. He pulled up. He was just there.
You're a customer. Get out of my face. Like, that to me, I don't think that if Mr. McLaughlin was in the car to begin with, that altercation would have went the way that it did.
No, it wouldn't have.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that I don't even know the dude that shot him. I haven't even looked up this man's name, even though it's important to know because we need to say that man needs to be locked up. So, whatever his name is, needs to be locked up. But if Mr. McLaughlin was inside of the car, I don't think that he would have had the heart to walk up to it and start saying the things that he did. I don't think he would have had the audacity. I don't think he would have had the nerve to do it because as soon as he saw the man, as soon as he had 2 hands put on him, and he got pushed, he fell like a feather, but he really just on the ground laying there. And he looked up and he saw that he didn't want to fight. He saw that he wouldn't win a fight, so he shot him. And then the police came and he said, "Oh, I was scared. He was going to hurt me."
And they've seen the
sit
video.
in your car. Go
and
park somewhere else.
And like I said, man, like it's important that y'all watch the video so that you can see what happens after the push.
It's not self-defense. Is the point. There's no self-defense here.
Yeah.
So why is he standing his ground?
Marques McLaughlin
sitting on his knees.
Marques McLaughlin made no moves after the initial contact to get this man who was verbally assaulting his family, get him away from his family. I'm sure Mr. McLaughlin didn't have the intention of pushing the man down to the ground, but he pushed him away from his family as he should have, defending his family. And then started to move away and only turned back at him when the man pulled out a gun. Mr. McLaughlin was not armed. He did not make any moves towards this individual, even after he pulled out a gun. He he stood there and just got shot in the chest.
The stand your ground law criminalizes Mr. McLaughlin more than the shooter, because now Mr. McLaughlin is having his actions analyzed, like him pushing this man that was verbally assaulting his family. Like him pushing him was in the wrong and worthy of him losing his life. That's what the law is saying. Like, I want you guys to understand that's what the law is saying.
And
that's what it means when this man that shot him is sitting at home and this family is grieving the death of this man. And everybody's looking at them saying that it was justified when it wasn't. It's sick and it's wrong, and we need to change the law. And we need to prosecute this man.
And it's interesting because this seems to only happen when there's a white shooter and a black victim. You know, how come, right? Like we said at the beginning, the stand your ground law is you're supposed to be able to defend yourself, your family, or your property. This man he was verbally assaulting the man's family in their vehicle, which is his property. So he has the right to defend his vehicle and his family. Yeah, he did not run up and punch this man in the face.
He wasn't stopping him like he could have been.
Yeah, he didn't run up and push him on the ground and get on top of him and start beating the crap out of him. He pushed the man away from his family.
He probably called him a couple names.
Yeah, and he probably yelled at him back. Yeah, 100%.
He said, "Don't come and talk to my family like that." And dude was like, and shot him.
He got upset
he didn't
because
say anything back. Yeah. He didn't get up and try to fight again. He didn't even give it a chance. He didn't escalate to a point where he was in any danger.
It wasn't 30 seconds. It wasn't 30 seconds after Mr. McLaughlin pushed this man that the man pulled out a gun. He started reaching for the gun as soon as he got on the ground. Started reaching for his gun and shot this man.
As soon as he got touched, he had made a decision that this was no longer a fist fight. He hadn't come here for a fist fight. He wasn't looking for a fist fight. He was looking to exercise his dominance over someone. And when he didn't get what he wanted, he found another way to make it happen. And the law is letting him get away with it because he knew the law would. I'm sure that he probably was the one that cited the stand your ground law when they got there. He probably said that he was getting attacked because, he did get pushed. He didn't start the physical altercation. He just started the actual altercation. He just started the entire altercation. He didn't touch him first. So, the stand your ground law is applicable. And that's BS.
Yeah.
That's complete and total BS. Because self-defense doesn't have to be physical. Like, he doesn't have to touch you first for you to plead self-defense. So for Mr. McLaughlin, he could have easily pleaded self-defense for pushing this man, for fearing from harm for his family. Legally, that could have been a viable defense. But because the man's dead, he won't ever make that defense.
Yeah.
And now,
and it's interesting. It's interesting.
Is vilifying him.
And it's interesting because police officers claim self-defense even when there is no physical. The man did not make a physical act of aggression towards him. There was a man who was shot in the back he was running away from police officers.
Yeah, you're the only one with a gun. Away. How are you going to plead self-defense?
Yeah,
you're the only one with a gun.
That doesn't make any sense. And I want to change it up so that we don't go too far over time. And switch to this other, literally just disgusting.
Very similar issue, man.
It's a similar issue.
Not the same.
No, it's not the same. This man, John Lee Cowell, he's a murderer. He's recognized as a murderer. But it's interesting how he was dealt with. And I'm going to explain the scenario first. So, Nia Wilson and her sister, Latifah Wilson, and I believe their younger sister were all making a transit home from a family function. They were on the BART trains in California, and as they were transferring trains, a random person that they've never seen, never met before, came up, slit Nia Wilson's throat, and stabbed her sister in the neck.
On the train.
For no reason.
On the train. Full of people.
There's a whole bunch of people around. And after this man, John Lee Cowell, does that, he proceeds to stand and watch the scene unfold. And like Mark said, this is a train full of people. There was no armed citizen who was trying to save the day and take Mr. Cowell down, who obviously just murdered at least one woman, and potentially the sister as well. But he just stood there, and then after a while, he ran away. Now, we're going to link another video of the arrest of Mr. Cowell, and it has been publicly released that Mr. Cowell had a history of violence. He had a battery charge. He had an armed robbery charge. He was a convicted felon. But if you click the link in the description on our YouTube channel, you will see that Mr. Cowell was apprehended with an almost lackadaisical, just like there was no threat at all. One of the officers literally had one hand on Mr. Cowell's hip and was facing away from him. The other officer was talking to the first officer while he casually put handcuffs on him.
Where I'm from, I've seen traffic stops turn into people laying on the ground, face on the pavement. This man is a murderer. And y'all didn't feel the need to at least make the man sit down, take a knee, he's obviously a threat, bro. He just slit a woman's throat, stabbed her sister in the neck. You think that he's stable? He's stable enough for you to be around, but if somebody, tries to run from you, then you might shoot him in their back.
Or you might slam a 10-year-old boy onto a police car, then onto the ground, telling him not to resist when he just saw his father get arrested.
There's countless examples of policemen using excessive force. Excessive is an understatement for the force that policemen use against people of color. I'm not going to say all the time, because it doesn't happen all the time. But
it happens more often than others.
Quite a bit of the time. And it just seems to me like this is a Dylan Roof-ish arrest. Dylan Roof got Burger King, bulletproof vest. They drove this little boy around after he shot up a church. This man just had a casual arrest. He was meeting up with friends, and they were just, giving him a ride, putting him in the back of the car, pull off.
And when school shooters are arrested, they're arrested very casually, no scratches on their body. There was a military veteran who was of Hispanic descent who got beaten up and brutalized by police because they didn't believe he was a citizen and didn't believe he served in the military, both of which he did. So this isn't, I know we're going to get the argument, well, are you guys trying to say the police should be slamming these people on the ground and hurting them?
Just about to say that.
No, we're not.
We don't want
saying
them
that
to abuse anybody.
Yeah, we're not saying that.
No.
This man needed to be slammed on the ground. The rest went well. It went peacefully. We're just saying that how come when a person of color interacts with the police, even if he doesn't make any sign of aggression, he's a lot more likely than a school shooter, a church shooter, a person who just slit the throat of a high school girl on a train and has a history of violence. How come they're not dealt with the same sense of urgency, sense of fear that Philando Castile was dealt with? Philando Castile was a teacher. He had a license to carry his weapon, and he got shot in his chest in front of his wife and daughter. And again, we're not saying, John Lee Cowell should have been shot because he slit the throat of Nia Wilson. If he had been shot, I promise you, I would not have lost a wink of sleep over it because he is a murderer. There's video of him. There's evidence of him. There's witnesses who saw him. That's how they identified him and arrested him. But my thing is, why is there more fear when a teacher is pulled over in a traffic stop than when you're apprehending a murderer who just slit the throat of a high school girl?
Because he's black. And I think that we need to stop dancing around it. I think that people need to stop trying to act like police only mishandle people that are a problem or a threat or break the law. Everybody that the police are arresting have in some way or form like broken the law. And like I said, I have witnessed with my own eyes traffic stops amounting to entire cars being torn apart with the people that own the car sitting on the curb. They might ask the person to lay down. They might ask the person to do any number of things that I personally would deem unnecessary, especially if the person is of absolutely no threat. All you did was see them not turn their blinker on. So they didn't do anything violent to make you think that they would be a criminal. But because they're of color, that makes you have the assumption that they're a violent person. But when there is a person of the Caucasian race who has already committed murder,
and people have seen him
taken actual lives, you look at them and you say, oh, well, he was killing black people. I'm not black people, so he shouldn't want to hurt me. And then you have a regular conversation with him. I think that as a society, we need to think a little bit more deeply about these issues and stop just looking at them like, oh, well, he just didn't do anything wrong. Oh, he was just talking to the cops, so they didn't do anything wrong. Bro, I promise you, black people do not have that luxury, especially if you're a murderer. I would hate to be a black murderer getting arrested by the police. I would hate to see how that goes. I'm sure that you probably get slammed on your neck, nobody cares. I don't know, drug dealers probably get slammed on their neck and nobody cares. But white murderers get taken to Burger King. Not this one, but Dylan Roof got taken to Burger King.
And I want to just address one little thing. You said that when the white murderers are murdering black people, that's when the police don't care. But it's not even that. Even when white murderers murder white people, like in the Santa Fe shooting or in the Parkland High School shooting,
very good point.
Both of those men as well were apprehended with no problem, no issue, no slamming, no cuts on their face, no swollen eyes, no swollen cheeks.
Take that back. So now that confuses me a bit because, like what I said in my mind makes sense. These murderers are targeting black people. I'm not black people, so I shouldn't be a target. That logically makes sense as to why you wouldn't feel threatened. But if you think this person is mentally unstable enough to murder anyone, to just spray into a crowd of people, let's say, what makes you think
somebody that he's never met before?
What makes you think that he's stable enough to just be your friend and sit and talk to you? Why after this young man shoots up a church full of black people at church, singing, it's choir practice, murder at least 8 of them if I recall correctly. 9. What possessed you to go buy this young man Burger King? Like, it was your lunch break. Cool, like maybe it was your lunch break, but why does the murderer? You see where I'm going with it, bro?
It doesn't make any
this
sense.
Wouldn't even be a question if it was anyone else. It wouldn't even be a question.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, and what's really interesting what's really interesting is that as soon as this happened, a particular news source, we're not going to name them, but they broadcasted a picture of Nia Wilson with what appeared to be a gun, like this, like she was holding it up on her face or something like that. And that's the picture that they broadcasted of the victim of a stabbing. She just got her throat slit by a man she never met before, never had any alteration. There was no altercation. They didn't get into a verbal altercation before. It was just a random act of violence. And the picture that out of all the pictures on this girl's 18 at high school. I'm sure she has an Instagram, a Twitter, a Facebook. Out of all the pictures she has all over the internet, they chose the one picture where it looked like she had a gun. And I say looked like because she had a phone case that had a gun handle on it. So it was a fake gun. It was a phone case. She was holding her phone to her ear, but it looked like a gun because it was a phone case. Now, as a black person in America, I don't think that's the best phone case to have, but that doesn't matter. It wasn't a gun, and that's the picture that they chose to depict this 18-year-old girl, this high school age
I
girl.
I want to ask the people watching this show why they think that they showed that picture. Like what do you stand to gain by attempting to vilify the victim? What does that do? That, in a way, attempts to not justify, but
it's dehumanizing.
Cushion the blow of what this man just did. Like, oh, she wasn't the best person.
Let's not jump to conclusions. She had a gun in this picture.
Yeah,
when
bro,
it wasn't even a gun.
Do you understand how asinine that sounds? Like, bro, this is a picture of her holding her phone. I don't even want to talk about the phone case. I don't care about her phone case, bro. Her phone case is irrelevant. It shouldn't even be a topic, bro. Why are we talking about her phone case after her neck just got slit, bro?
That's what I'm saying.
And the dude, like, she shouldn't be the focus. That's my issue. If somebody murders you, you shouldn't be the focus of what everybody's talking about. People shouldn't be talking about what you could have done better in your life to not be in the situation where you got murdered by a murderer who was going to murder someone regardless of what you did. So you shouldn't be getting talked about. To me, that's disrespectful. It's immoral. It's irrational. And it's dumb.
It's repulsive.
It gets under my skin a whole lot, bro. Honestly. Because she's 18 years old, bro. I'm 22. 4 years ago, if I had got murdered 4 years ago, I would have been a much different person than I am now. We would have never recorded any of the stuff that we're saying now. If I could get murdered today, at least, we had these shows, like people could hear some of what I had to say. At 18 years old, you wouldn't have had that chance.
You don't even really, that's what I'm saying. She didn't have a chance to go to college, discover anything about the world. And, she had been going based off of a public school education that is, we're not going to talk about the gentrification and the skewed nature of public school educations, but she hadn't had a chance to find herself yet, and yet the pictures that they chose to depict this young lady were as criminalizing and as vilifying as they could find, and even still,
it's a trend.
That's what I'm saying. Every time
they did the same thing with Trayvon Martin. They put up pictures of Trayvon Martin smoking marijuana in an attempt to make him seem like he was a bad person after he was murdered by George Zimmerman. Bro, that was literally irrelevant to the entire situation.
Didn't matter.
But they use whatever they can to put it in people's head that, he wasn't the best person. She wasn't the best person. They deserved what happened. That's stupid. It's ridiculous, bro. And it's frustrating that people even attempt to do something like that to me. Because I know, as dumb as it is, and as irrational as it is, there are some people that are going to agree with them, and they're going to disagree with me and you. And that is what really gets under my skin. Because no matter how much you explain to them how stupid this is, stupid is not the right word to use when you're explaining to somebody why their views are wrong, but I cannot think of any other word to describe it. How you're going to vilify the victim of a murder.
It doesn't make sense.
None.
But with that, we're going to let this one marinate a little bit. Like I said, we dropped the links to the arrest of John Lee Cowell and the link to up until the shooting of Marques McLaughlin. I'm sure most people don't want to see the man get shot, but we'll show you everything up until then. And you guys leave your analysis, leave some comments. Tell us what you think about how did you look at this video? How did you see this video, or these videos? And, what is your opinion? Because even if you have a differing opinion, we would, I'd like to hear it just to be able to point out the flaws in your logic. Because
everybody's opinion is valuable.
Yeah, everybody's opinion is valuable. We want to hear it. We can have some educational debates in the comment section.
Make sure you that's probably the best way to go on the show, honestly.
Yeah, make sure you
get to comment in our comments.
Yeah, make sure you
Stay
like,
stuff to us.
make sure you share, make sure you subscribe. Like we said in a previous episode, we're having big things are coming. We're gonna have a state senatorial candidate on the show August 4th. So we're growing, and we appreciate all the support you guys have shown us. So with that, thank you guys for tuning in, and we're gonna tune out. See ya.
Be safe.